In Peter Jackson's The Hobbit trilogy, audiences were met with an unexpected twist, a storyline absent from the original book, a peculiar love triangle between Legolas, Tauriel, and Kíli. In the plot, Legolas, the son of the woodland elf king Thranduil, harbours deep feelings for his subordinate, Tauriel, the captain of Mirkwood's guard. Yet despite his constant attempts to win her heart, she returns the affection of someone entirely different, the young dwarf Kíli, one of Thorin's companions on the quest to the Lonely Mountain. At first glance, her choice seems strange. In the history of Middle-earth, marriages between elves and men were an extremely rare exception, and a romance between an elf and a dwarf had never been heard of. Nevertheless, on-screen unfolds a tragic yet touching story that surprised many viewers. By elven standards, Tauriel was still very young, around 6 centuries old. She was known for her spirited, passionate nature, acting quickly and decisively, unlike most of her kin who tended toward long contemplation. Such a character served her well as a military leader, but it clashed with the measured life of the royal court. Kíli, Thorin's nephew, also stood out among his people. Young and full of life, he sought to prove his courage and loyalty to his family. Fate brought them together when Thorin's company fell into the clutches of giant spiders in Mirkwood. The dwarves were saved by the elves under Tauriel's command, but instead of gratitude, they were met with imprisonment. Under the laws of the woodland realm, they had entered the kingdom unlawfully. While Kíli was in the dungeon, Tauriel spoke with him, and it was then that a special closeness began to form. When the dwarves escaped, she set out after them, at first to bring them back, but later her journey became an attempt to aid their mission and to see Kíli again. Subsequent events tore them apart and brought them together again, from orc attacks to their meeting in Lake Town, where their feelings were finally confirmed. But in the end, during the Battle of the Five Armies, it all ended in tragedy. Kíli died shielding Tauriel from a fatal blow delivered by the orc leader Bolg. Throughout the story, Legolas was there. He defended Tauriel, helped her, but remained on the fringes of her heart. Even after Kíli's death, she never returned his affection. Several factors likely played a role in this outcome. First, Tauriel understood perfectly well that a union with Legolas was impossible. Thranduil himself would have opposed it. For the king, she was merely a free-spirited and willful subject, not a suitable match for his heir. Second, Legolas in The Hobbit was not yet the open-minded and wise warrior he would later become. He was still confined within the boundaries of his kingdom, too obedient to his father. Against this backdrop, Kíli, with his bravery and warm heart, appeared more vivid and appealing. Third, Tauriel's character showed a tendency to care for and protect others. She saved Kíli more than once, starting from their very first meeting. It was important to her to safeguard someone who truly needed her help, and Legolas, a strong and seasoned warrior, required no such protection. And finally, there was the pragmatic side. The screenwriters could not tie Legolas to a character invented for the films, since in The Lord of the Rings there is no mention of Tauriel at all. To avoid contradictions, they left his story untouched and gave the romantic arc to Kíli instead. So how do you feel about this twist in The Hobbit's plot? Did Tauriel make the story more vibrant, or did she distract from the main events? After Kíli's death, the world seemed to lose its colour for Tauriel. The forests of Mirkwood, once full of sound and light, now felt cold and empty. Every rustle reminded her of his voice, every shaft of sunlight of his smile. She returned home, but the walls of Thranduil's palace pressed in on her more tightly than ever before. Thranduil, though her king, greeted her with his usual cold restraint. In his eyes there was no compassion, only a weary approval that the dangerous connection had been severed on its own. For him, the dwarf's death was the restoration of order in his realm. But for Tauriel, It was the end of her former life. She could no longer look at Legolas knowing that he was still there, still willing to help, but would never be able to fill the void Kíli had left. She felt no hatred toward him, but no warmth either. There was too much between them to be mere comrades, and too little to become anything more. The forest where she had grown up began to feel like a cramped cage. Tauriel left Mirkwood more and more often, travelling to distant corners of Middle-earth. It was said she appeared in Dale, helping to rebuild the city after the war. Sometimes she was seen in Rivendell, where she would spend long hours speaking with Elrond about the nature of time and whether an elf's feelings could change as quickly as those of mortals. Legends of her bond with the dwarfs spread across the lands, and for many she became a symbol of impossible love. People whispered that the elf who once defied her king's will never found peace. In the evenings when the stars rose over the mountains, Tauriel would sometimes climb high cliffs and quietly speak in the elven tongue words that Kíli had never heard, and the wind would carry them toward the lonely mountain, to the place where the one who had once changed her fate still lay.